Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Hello, welcome to another special edition of the Brunch Show here on Kerr Fatou with me, Joy Ngwama. And of course, I am not alone in the studio. I have my co-host, Nimasata Kamara. You're welcome to the show. And on my immediate right, I have Mr. Lamin Cham, who's from the Standard newspaper. And of course, our own bona fide member of the house, Mr. Mustafa Kedabo. Ladies and gentlemen, you're highly welcome. So, on a quick base, Mr. Lamin Cham will be taking us through what has been trending on the news, over the week. Mr. Cham, what do you have for us?
Well, I'll pick just a few, that actually attracted my attention, and that is for the first time the government has spoken about all the wild rumors, if you like, about the prospect of Gambia being and is going to be a country with an oil boom perhaps in the next few years. We now know what exactly is the position of the Gambia, in terms of prospects for oil. Now, we also had, towards the end of the week, for the very first time, a very important person, some people will say the number 2 most wanted person in the Gambia, General Sol Baji. We had him for the first time speaking out, although of course he spoke mostly about his own personal things. We will have a look at that in the media, and then of course the arrest, or let's say the revisiting of the Gunjur Golden Lake environment case,
Right.
A high-profile arrest in connection with that. We'll have a look at that, and perhaps I think. Other media is most.
So now I'm very interested in the in Saul Badge's statement. I understand that he was accused of certain thing by one of Jammeh's family members. I would like you to tell us what exactly Mr. Saul Badge had said during the WhatsApp audio that was being disseminated.
Well, I think, like you said, he actually was responding to earlier remarks made about him in a forum in their native Jola language. I think Saul was trying to clear his name. He is suggesting that some people had used some part in the name of something Sane, had used that forum to say he actually was being disloyal to Jammeh. He was conspiring with people in the coalition government and plus with the IEC to cause Jammeh's downfall in the elections, and also the fact that he probably has been working against Jammeh. He was worried about those allegations, and he came out to say, how can that be, that doesn't make sense, because here he is among one of the most wanted people in the Gambia.
Right.
His name has been appeared in the Commission of Inquiry many times. And he is just about to lose his properties through this commission, and then his wife, he said, had been dragged to court, etc. He was trying to say that if that is true, that he was working behind Jammeh's back, working with the coalition or whatever, then he probably wouldn't have suffered that the way he is suffering his things. And he also particularly raised concern about the fact that that Sane had said in the audio that President Jammeh, former President Jammeh, was angry with him because when he discovered that from the commission reports that Saul was collecting money in the name of Jammeh when actually he wasn't sent by Jammeh.
Right.
So I think I could see a man who, because people who knew him said he's a man of very few words. Now that he's been compelled to speak out, I think he got worried that these kind of remarks are going to spoil his relations with former President
Now,
Jammeh. I think one of the reasons he came out was that.
I read through the write-up in English, and in one of it, he made mention that if so, what the people are saying, that the Jola culture should just kill him or something like that, something of that nature. Do you think it's actually what he is saying is quite genuine, or he is just trying to act up to get the people's sympathy?
You are right. I detected what I would call superstition in his
Right.
statement. I don't think that was quite important. But all that he did, in trying to get the people convinced that what has been said about him is a lie. He said that Jola has a culture that can get at him and kill him. It's superstition. I don't think it's very important. But what you could understand from him is that he is definitely, anxious to prove his innocence, as far as those allegations that have been made in the social media on those forums are concerned. He was a man who was desperate to clear his name. I mean, I think, there have been allegations flying in and out about, since Jammeh's downfall, that people in his henchmen, people who were close to him and were getting all the benefits surrounding him, have started to kind of, because of course the goodies are over, they're trying to, align themselves with people who are opponents to Jammeh, perhaps to have their bread buttered again, or perhaps to find some way of remedying whatever situation they are. So Saul, for the first time, have been said to be among those who were working against Jammeh, according to those allegations in the truth. So he was trying desperately to clear his name.
So moving forward, I want to quickly take you to the oil discovery of the Gambia. I was made to understand that the government spokesperson spoke on it. Would you tell us more about this?
Yes, what the government said for the first time, of course, there have been a lot of stories, and of course, especially Kerr Fatou has done a lot of stories and features and interviews about this oil thing.
Right.
People have said that in the near future, there will be an oil boom in the Gambia. There have been a lot of expectations, and the government has not. For me, this is the very first time that I've seen the government has said something very tangible about what is happening. And they've been compelled to do so through widespread rumors, which are saying that, well, perhaps we have already started drilling oil. And,
Right.
if they don't come out now, in the next near future, you will see people start to say that oil has been extracted and been exported to somewhere. What they're trying to say is, in fact, oil drilling has not started. 3 companies have, come together, or some that have expressed interest in trying to prospect, to verify whether the oil that's been said to be in our source or offshores is actually the type that is commercially, viable. So, in other words, what is happening now is to determine and verify whether there is in fact oil.
Right.
So this is the first time the government has come to say, well, the situation is we are even trying to find out. And then, of course, they explain at what cost, because people will be concerned, like how much is it going to cost the Gambia to prospect? And then they explain, their participation, how much they're going to get. Perhaps what's important is they said all this prospective is going to be done at the cost of the oil companies.
Wow.
And the government was going to get 15% somewhere. I know Mustafa will get details.
Let me quickly bring Mustafa in. Mustafa, we are aware that you've been following the issue of this oil, and you have an in-depth knowledge about this. So based on the facts, or based on the statement that the government spokesperson had said, what have you seen through, what did you read through the lines?
Well, I have limited knowledge in it's a very technical area, and a lot of Gambians are very new to extractive industries, whether it's even the sand minings that are happening,
Yes,
or the
right.
oil issue. There is very limited knowledge of, but what I know so far, and what we know, is that there are 3 companies that are interested in the 2 blocks, which is A2 and A5. And they are Erin Energy, Petronas, and then FAR. FAR and Petronas both got 40-40, and Erin got 20. So, but that is in the test drilling, because what had happened initially was called 3D seismic survey, which is to do a survey which was analyzed to understand what is actually in there. Like, so you do the 3D seismic survey, that data was analyzed, and now they are coming to do the test drilling. So these people said two things: that our two prospective oil wells are, one, close to SNE1, the Senegalese oil well that has been test drilled, that's being that where FAR already has stake in. It's close to that, and that increases the prospects that probably we also have oil. And two, there is also likelihood, based on the data that they've accumulated, that we could have up to 1 billion barrels of oil in that particular oil well. So, so the test drilling process is where we are right now. If it is confirmed we have oil, then the oil flows. So we have the petrodollars.
Nyimasata, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, everything else has been said. I think where we need to make commendations is the fact that there's been so much speculation.
Right.
I had an impression, and I know a lot of people had an impression, that in October there's going to drilling is going to start. So we were excited about how that is going to contribute to our development. But the government spokesperson coming forward to give clarifications on these things is a step in the right direction, and this is something that we need to encourage, because we have said it here before. The reason why people lie about certain things, or the reason why we speculate, is because we don't have information. If we have little or no information, obviously our natural instinct is to make up things that make sense to us. So therefore it's important that we get access to this information, and I'm happy that they are coming forward.
So let me add that there is also an information circulating online that that Ami Bensouda's law firm is currently in a legal battle with Gambia government, representing for the Gambia government to remove capital gain tax on their drilling. Actually, the Gambia government's oil commissioner, like the gentleman who is responsible for oil-related issues at the Ministry of Energy, has told us that this information is inaccurate.
Okay.
That,
I think another thing
it's
was
reported by African intelligence, but the ministry said the information is inaccurate. They are not in any court with FAR to remove capital gain tax.
Quickly, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think another thing that was clear, I think there was an interview conducted by a certain individual who said the government had no shares at all, and that created an alarm somewhere. But what the press release have cleared for us is that the government has 15% share, and they are going to be gaining some percentages in terms of royalties as well. Yeah. So I think about close to 40% altogether from the taxes, from the royalties, from the 15% that they have as part of the share. And
is that a good deal?
Well,
before we pass the subject,
we understand it's an expensive investment,
it's an expensive.
And we understand that the government is not investing at the moment.
They're investing about $50 million
yeah.
on the test drilling. The four companies.
Excluding the government.
No, government is not investing. So the four companies are investing $50 million.
So
I think if you look at it, in summation, I mean, you look at other African countries, with the exception of very lucky ones like Libya's Gaddafi's Libya.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good deal. I mean, in a lot of African countries, you would have even 5%.
Yes.
I mean,
wasn't that what Jammeh said he rejected some time back?
Yeah. I wouldn't know if it's a good deal or a bad deal, but at least we know what the deal is. That's what's important.
Now, the other thing, of course, is the Dr. Jane arrest. I mean, we must bear in mind that this matter is going to court, and we cannot speculate as to exactly what is going to happen now. But what happened is that he was charged in absentia, and now when the police got to know that he's around, in the country, they arrested him, and he was put through the same procedure as the others before him, and now he's standing trial on October 17 or something like that. Yeah. But then, of course, it revisited the whole Golden League and environmental issues that has really, this case was particularly one leading case, when you talk about environmental problems in the country. Perhaps we can comment on the fact that it really renewed issues as to how do we go about to solve the Golden Lake problem.
Sure.
What do you make of it?
Well, a lot of suspicions arise as to why government arrest Dr.
Janet.
Johnny after 1 month in the country. I mean, he's been here for about
He
a
said
month.
it himself that
So-
he's been to high profile meetings.
Yeah.
And then of course he said perhaps more importantly that the arrest was inhumane because he was attending a funeral, a burial actually. Do you think the police could have waited, or as far as the police are concerned, they've got
Yeah,
their
I
man?
think
So
they could have
Is it-
waited.
Politically motivated. I mean, for me, that's besides the point. The point actually here is that there's a foreign company that is being accused of destroying the environment of a particular community. Amadou Skarajane being part of that community, and they have raised this alarm several times. And in their minds, perhaps the government has not taken any steps, and they have taken this matter into their own hands. And this is where all this arrest is resulting from. So this is where the problem is now. The problem is, have they taken the law into their own hands, and is that something that they were supposed to do? Because this is a matter of legal proceedings now. But also, were they justified in their action if they are doing it in the name of protecting their communities? Because that would be a moral justification for what they did then.
Mustafa, you want to add something to that?
This is a very complex
It's
issue.
complicated.
I was there and I was following the Gunjur issue, and I was there as well in Gunjur. We reported it several times, and I went there myself. But what I know is that in Gunjur itself, overwhelming number of people in Gunjur are actually not in support of the Golden Lead, the action against Golden Lead. I was there myself, and in fact, one guy was arrested, and he was at the police station, and I was with him, and the father of the guy came and he was complaining. He was protesting against the action of his son. So you would see it's a very polarizing issue in Gunjur itself. So, but what they also say in their defense is that these are very powerful people, and they are bribing people left, right, and center.
Do you think that's the case?
now I think
I
what-
don't know. I'm a journalist. I can
from-
say what
from
I
what
can
they-
confirm. But the thing is that it's a very contentious issue, even in Gunjur. And like you said, if there is actual proof, which these people said they have, that the Golden Lead activity actually harmed the environment and it was killing wildlife, probably they feel justified that what the actions that they took was in the best interest of the community.
Right.
So, and then if you can prove that actually the government, because government is the duty bearer here. Government is the one that is the institution that's supposed to protect rights. It's the institution that's supposed to protect our resources. The institution. So if the government failed to do its job, then the citizens will automatically be empowered to do what they are required to protect themselves.
Yeah, but then let's look at this. You mentioned that there's this feeling in Gunjur that, okay, the Golden League brought a lot of employment, they will say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And perhaps, I don't know how it was negotiated, perhaps some compensation that the activists felt is not really sufficient compared to the damage the
They've
activities
caused.
of the company will go to the community. And they felt that the government, their cries have not been heeded. I mean, they staged a protest, peaceful protest before, and the government is still not doing what they want government to do, that is to stop the entire operations. And the government has said their hands are tied because these people have legally registered and they are investing in the country and they are this thing. So there has to be, I think there was even a court case which, they instituted a court case against Golden Lake and Brickham. What happened? It was thrown out or negotiated?
Because the thing
negotiated
is,
out of
so
settlement.
that
or
is
something
where
like
the problem
That's
is.
where-
Now, that's where the problem is. Now, when the government was the first institution that comes out to say the Golden Lead activity is illegal
Yeah.
and it's affecting the environment.
That is the National Environment Agency.
Not just the National Environment Agency. You realize that after the noise, even Barrow himself
Yes.
put it on his Facebook page that Golden Lead, that they have realized that what Golden Lead is doing is affecting the environment. You can go to Barrow Pog
So
and
now
look
what-
at it.
what then
Now what
changed?
happened?
Yeah.
Barrow said that the president,
Yeah.
National Environment Agency, not just said it, but they took action and
took
took
action.
Golden Lead to court.
court.
And they did so on the charges that these people are doing what is danger to the environment.
Yeah.
So that means what the Gunjur activists are saying, government said is true.
Why did it
So,
change?
but the suspicion is, was there some political consideration now? Because you would see that, you know, that the Chinese have spent a lot of money in Gambia since
Absolutely,
the regime
yes.
changed. Over $2 billion
Yes.
in grants.
Right.
So you would see that the Gunjur activists are thinking maybe there is a political consideration by Gambia government to put pressure on National Environment Agency to withdraw the case, because that was what happened.
That's what happened. Yes.
Yeah,
So this is what
They settled it out of court.
So supposedly this is what emboldened the activists to take the law into their own hands.
Yeah,
and
and
destroying the
maybe if
Yeah.
you're also looking at the parallels between what happened in Gunjur and Faraba, they are not very far from each other.
Yeah.
If the government has a responsibility to protect its citizens and their communities, and the citizens are not seeing them to serve that duty that
So
they
in other words,
owe them.
what we are suggesting is that perhaps the government had the same feelings at the beginning.
Yes.
But
they
because
later
now
changed their mind.
because of the overriding national interest, they will
Yes.
argue.
Yeah.
They believe that now they will soften their stance against the Chinese because they are investing far more heavily in other areas of the economy, and then we should not perhaps we should ignore the feelings of the.
Let me
Gunjur
tell you
people.
one interesting thing that happened. Excuse me, I think you're pressing for time, but one interesting thing that happened while I was covering the Golden Lead case in Birkama was that someone came and was seated with the Chinese, not with NEA, from the president's office. I can't remember how he introduced himself, but I was behind him and I had him introduced himself as someone who was coming from the office of the president to sit where the Chinese are, and he was talking to him about the procedures that the company was going to go through. In other words, he was sort of allaying his fears that this is a democracy and the law will take its course. It's not necessarily that. So you are trying to punish someone and at the same time make the person feel happy.
So should we be worried that if the government feels that the national interest is greater than a local grievance, they suddenly will ignore it?
I have a problem with
Should
that.
we worry
What do
about
you
it?
call a national interest if the environment is not captured within that?
No, perhaps, okay, the Chinese invested $2 billion.
Over 2 billion.
2 billion. They're going to construct a lot of roads and etc. etc. Perhaps in the eyes of the politician, that is better than the 2-3 people crying in Gunjur.
I understand.
That's
that
what
part.
perhaps
But
the politicians
when you call it the national interest, that suggests that environmental protection
It's
is
overlooked.
Yeah, it's not a national.
Yeah, but you
interest.
are looking at two evils, and which one is the lesser of
that's
the two
right.
evils?
Higher than
Every
other.
day the government has to balance the two evils and which one to go for. Because government suddenly must do something. So perhaps what we are seeing is that, I mean, the government, from what Mustafa told us, that even the position of the president was, well, the environment should be protected. But suddenly there's a big change of heart. A government agency which instituted action has to withdraw the case. So now, should we be worried that there may be similar Gunjur people? Like, for example, if somebody somewhere said, well, we wouldn't mind sign in Bruford or in Carton, and the government feel that that sign is going to build a road from here to Koina, then perhaps the people of Carton should keep quiet.
Yeah, we can have cases like that. You would see that any of the environmental cases that had happened in this country, especially the Faraba issue, the government, a government institution, a reputable one, which is the National Assembly, had actually advised for that activity to stop. So we'll see that government has repeatedly gone against advices of its own institutions in all these cases.
Yeah.
So that is why Barrow's
And are they
biggest
justified?
problem
Are
right
they
now
justified
is
in doing so?
Well, so that's
That's
the
the
point.
issue
So
now.
Barrow can justify his own actions, but people can differ also with Barrow
Absolutely.
on his justification.
So let's leave the court now. Let's leave the court now.
I
to
agree with.
determine.
I just want to make a final observation, a dynamic that we are missing here. Is this case between the government and the scattered Jane? Is it a trio? I don't know how many people are involved, or is it between the company?
It's between the
And
company.
It's between the
It's
police.
between the
It's
com-
between
yeah, it's
the
between the
police,
police and-
the IGP, and because the police are the ones who are protecting the rights and properties of people.
Yes.
It's between the police who are defending the interests of the company.
The company.
Versus
Well, that is problematic.
Yeah, because the company is claiming that they allegedly they destroyed a pipe that cost $50,000, was it?
I see the case
I
being
would
thrown
consider
out
it as a
eventually. I
civil
think-
case
I
between
think
the
case
company
would
and
be-
the activists.
I obviously think they will let it go in the end.
It's
The
possible.
case will be thrown out.
Yeah. The current Gunjur case is
Yeah.
ineffective. The police have no much interest in it. The current one that is against the other five.
Order 5.
Yeah. So I think this other one is also another way of intimidating the guys and
So calm down.
and let it go.
And Golden League will just repair their
Yeah,
pipe and
and
go on.
eventually let it
As
go.
long as the activists stay calm.
Absolutely.
But that's not solving the problem. What about if they get up again and try to
Well,
remove
I
the
think
pipe?
that's the solution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamin Cham. That was quite insightful, from the case of Solbaji to the case of the Golden Lead versus um, Dr. Jane, and of course it was quite an interesting one. Now we'll quickly move to what is trending on social media, and Nima Sata Kamara will be taking us through. Nima, what do you have for us?
Thank you very much. It has been very heated on social media as well, but it's no different from what we have on the papers. We had this Ghana case where, as we have done here, people were defending them. There were people who agree with what the police did. We had the oil issue, an interview preceding the government's press release, and the press release came out to say that what was being said at the interview and what the general speculations were are false, and they attempted to give us what the true picture is, and that is very much appreciated. So we're not going to go into that because we've already discussed that. But the other thing that is trending very much on social media is the Semlex contract, and also very recently, especially on WhatsApp, we have a young man being murdered in Brikama. An incident that has repeated itself. Very recently we had another incident also involving young people, and this is something that is very tragic, and I think it's important that we understand what is happening, right? We have a new environment, and are the people exploiting this environment? Is something else responsible? Because I know drug use is also involved here. Is parenting a problem? What is the problem actually? And why is all this happening in Brikama?
Now, I am very interested in this murder case in Brikama because I think a couple of months ago, a similar incident happened. And what is the genesis of this murder? Do you have any information as to why this individual was murdered, or what prompted to the aggravation of the incident?
So, as this is similar to the previous case, what we know is that these are two young boys who are very close. They are close friends. They always hang out together, and they have started fighting, I think, a few days ago, and they continue to fight for 4 days straight. And it was the fourth day that the other young guy decided to stab the one who died with a knife. And another dynamics to this story is that when the boy was bleeding, instead of rushing him to the hospital, he was taken to the police station first. And while at the police station, he was losing so much blood until there was nothing to be done again when he reached the hospital. So there are two things involved here. One is young people involved in crime, because these are very young people, barely above 18 years old. And we have also our emergency, the way that we deal with emergencies in the country is also a problem, because you will imagine that somebody who has been stabbed will be rushed to the hospital first. Maybe in tandem with that, we can have the police accompany them, rather than be kept at the police station for investigations while he's losing so much blood.
Now, usually what happens is if you have such cases, like if you're stabbed or anything, before you're being attended to in the hospitals, you're asked for a police report for a clearance, something like that. Do you have an idea?
That used to be the tradition, but that's purely nonsensical. I've always objected to that. Because it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Now, of course, they've always used the law to justify that before a medical personnel treatment, you must know the circumstances, what happened. But I think it doesn't make sense, because especially in the case of this lad, if probably he had been treated at the hospital, been taken to the hospital first, and some expert did something to stop the excessive bleeding, he could have saved his life. And then you can follow up what happened before. I think if this is the system still now, it doesn't make sense. I mean, somebody who got seriously injured should be first treated, and then you ask questions later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, I think, why is this happening? Is it drugs? What is happening?
Well, we probably don't know yet. Perhaps the investigators will do. But I think these kind of things had to do with ghetto life. And by that I mean that people are either under the influence of alcohol or drug that will get them to be unreasonably violent and perhaps lost they lost the sanity, common sense, and then resorts to using that much violence against one another. Because people who are sane and have been friends for long absolutely will think of something else rather than taking up knife or something against one another. There certainly must be something had led to this incident. And don't be surprised, drugs and other influences might be involved.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy, actually.
I just want to also say that sometimes it's so simplistic for us to just say, oh, kids are notorious, kids are rude, they are this and they are that. But there are sometimes structural problems that are manifested with underneath that we don't know about. And I think as a society, it's important that we reflect on these things and understand what truly is happening. If it is drugs, something else must be pushing it. Is it because of unemployment, for example? Are people getting more frustrated, for example? Could be an explanation here. But also, is the drug enforcement unit as active now as they used to be? Because in my opinion, I think they are relaxing a little bit now.
Oh, well, they will say that it's unfair because as recent as 3 days ago, they had a press conference where they said in the last year alone, since the year began in West Coast region where this tragedy happened, they seized over 200 kilograms of cannabis. And they cited cases where small children, motorists, and so were involved in concealing and transporting these things. And they've been raiding compounds. For example, in Bakau, in the KM, there were 2 occasions where they had to fight against a local mob who really wanted them to arrest their peers. I mean, they would say they've been doing their best. But you know, drug abuse is so widespread in our community that is difficult to control. And it is the very one element that is driving young people to get into this kind of violence.
That's true.
Thank you very much. Mustafa, you have anything to add to it?
Except state some few things that are on our website that have not been talked about. Maybe I could just scream through them if I...
But before you do that, let's quickly move to the Semlex issue, because that has been quite arousing on the social media. And I would like you to share some, give us insights on it.
This is an old story. There are only few new dynamics to it that have emerged within the last few days. There was a poster raised, I think, somewhere alongside Barrow's poster where he denounced corruption and they promised that they were going to fight against corruption. We have seen in some pictures being circulated that the police have been sent to bring the poster down. We are not sure if this is true or not, but this has been making rounds on social media. And there have also emerged in some corners people who are supporting the idea of the Semlex contract, saying that the government doesn't have much to do with Semlex because the contract had existed prior to the new government coming to power. And if they had denied them the contract, that would have legal consequences. And also there are people who are trying to break down the $450 to a certain number where they said it should not be very difficult for anybody to be able to acquire that amount in a year.
5 year.
Although I find this to be a little bit controversial because, well, there are some people who cannot even have $1 in a day in the Gambia. But also, how free can we have this document?
Thank you very much, Nyamasata Kamara, for that quite an insightful social media trends. And quickly to Mustafa, what do we have on Fatou website?
Yeah, so I'm just going to come in on things that they have not mentioned. I think it's important that we talk about Rohilo's 100 days.
Right.
Mayor of Banjul.
Yes, she's celebrated her 100 days in office, organized a press conference and also a gathering with natives of Banjul 2 days ago. We were there and she talked about some of the things that she has achieved and over time. I find it impressive. I think she's done a good work because based on the information she's presented, she's claimed they've inherited a debt of about 8 million, which they've paid now. They've had some unpaid workers, known workers of the council who are on their salary.
Yeah, or ghost workers.
Ghost workers, and they've eradicated that, reduced the bank accounts of the council to one, and also reveal plans to build some couple of roads in Banjul. And they also said in 3 months' time, every compound in Banjul will have its own trash bin.
Yeah.
I think based on what she's presented, she's done an amazing job as compared to Talib. But of course, we have to also understand it. Talib
has a greater challenges.
Very
Well, I think what's more impressive about her, when she came, she set up a task force. I remember during the inauguration, I come across people who were recruited from the various fields of their activities. Some of them were economists, some accountants, some security, some tax, even tax officials from the tax GRA. And I think that team really did a perfect job in assessing what has happened and what could be done better. So it is really very important that she recruited people who have known the job better and relied on their information. I think that was impressive.
Yeah, but regardless of that, how big a job she has.
Yes,
Banjul is a
absolutely.
broken city, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be accused for blasphemy, but I just want to say God is a woman. Yeah. So we are all impressed with the enormous job she has started. Banjul, I mean, the whole country has been in shambles when the government took power. So everywhere where we are seeing improvement should be commendable. And especially her being a woman and breaking barriers, we are very proud of that.
I think she has an opportunity to prove to the whole country that really women can really inspire good leadership and according to her plan, that's exactly what she wants to do.
Because I don't really think women should be put to a test before they are given the opportunity. But if she becomes a failed hypothesis, as in the case of women leadership in this country, but I think we've had women there before. A woman was she is the
Deputy
first elected.
She is the
but
first.
There was a deputy.
Was a deputy.
Who later ascends to becoming a mayor.
Yeah.
So a woman was
She's
there
the
before.
first elected, actually.
Yes. So women have been tested before and they've proven quite.
Yeah, one thing I like about this and something that I'm very much passionate about is how the government or local governments relate to their people, because information is very key in this.
Right.
Yeah, people need to know what is happening. They need to know what their stake is in that development and how they can participate in it. So for that to happen, they need to be given this information. And I like the fact that she's coming forward to explain to us what her accomplishments are.
And before I move to another story, I just want to also state that I think the fact that they've come out to talk to their people about their first 100 days and reveal certain things that they've done and be brave enough to stand before them shows that there is at least an improvement from where we were before.
She has always said they have nothing to hide when it comes to running the city, and she's going to be bold and be very honest. This is the problem, this is where we want to tackle it.
And she was quite confident.
New form of leadership.
And she was talking to her fans to say, I'm not owned by any political group.
Yes,
I'm not owned by any section.
Yes.
I am owned by the people of Banjul.
Absolutely.
It's at their will that I serve.
That's quite inspiring.
That was quite a strong message.
Yeah, that's
I think that was there.
Yes. If she really continued that trend, I think she's going to be a good mayor.
Yeah. And so, she may inspire some others as well.
Like you.
Yes.
So, one thing also that I think we should talk about quickly before time runs out on us is the issue of Shegad, Senegal Gambia Permanent Secretariat.
Yes.
We now have a new ambassador.
Yes, second. Well, that's been a long time. That's been 3 months.
But he went to the presidency to
yes,
talk to
for the first time in last week.
For the first time, he was in the presidency and they discussed, I imagine, a lot of stuff issues.
Yes.
We know that Senegal and Gambia at another new level in terms of
yes.
security cooperation.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we have this cooperation is hinged on the issue of security and economic cooperation.
Actually,
where do you think our relation is?
I think the Senegal-Gambian Permanent Secretariat has been here since I think just after it took independence. It has been here long. It was stopped and then it was continued on the Jammeh. What they do is what the two diplomatic positions cannot achieve. That's what they achieve. I mean, they deal with the grassroots. They deal with grassroots issues. Now, if you get a politician as High Commissioner in Senegal, he probably will listen to President Barrow and how the government is feeling about it. But when it comes to Senegal or Gambian Permanent, they don't care about the politicians. They got the people and work for the two people and bring them closer economically, security-wise, and socially. That's their mandate. And it's a diplomatic position. It's been here for long. It's normally rotational. It's headed by a Senegalese mostly as an executive secretary, and then the Gambian will be the deputy secretary, and then it goes on like that. There were seasoned diplomats who served in the 70s, like Seydou Nourouba. It was quite prominent here, and then not long ago, Ambassador Doudou Salah. Yeah, was also here. Now we have Paul Baji, who just left.
who just left.
Who
And
just
now
left.
you have Seka.
And they all
have
seasoned diplomats who
Seka.
had served, their country, Senegal, in many, many, many countries and organizations. So they seasoned diplomats. The PSGG, as they abbreviate it, it's not new. It's been here for long.
Yeah, but also linked to security.
Yes.
We're talking about security.
They have a security
I don't know
component.
whether Gambia is prepared to take up take charge of its own security now, but because we are going to now talk about the AU chairman's visit.
Yes.
And the request that the president has made while in meeting with him, that probably it would be required for Gambia to have some support to ensure economics mandate extends to 2021. But also, we will talk about it in conjunction to GAF, preparation to take over the security of the country. The High Command is currently on a security tour, on a tour around the country to analyze the security situation.
Yeah, I think that's very important because there are two countries, especially in West Africa, that are very prominent in terms of economic presence in the Gambia. It's Senegal and Nigeria. Absolutely. So therefore, if Gambia's and Senegal's relationship strengthen to a position where we are envisioning it to be, Barrow's desire for economic to stay until 2021 becomes a reality because majority of those who are present here are Senegalese. But also Senegal has an interest to maintain their soldiers here as they are doing somewhere around Guinea-Bissau because of the Casamance issue, right? So I think there are mutual interests as far as security is concerned, and it's serving both countries.
So what do you think of the ECOMIC stay until 2021? There are people who say, well, ECOMIC is staying, but we need our own army.
But I think ECOMIC, we've gone through this. ECOMIC and National Army roles, if they have really conflicted, are different in many ways. ECOMIC normally trusts the total, they help in the external threats and perhaps internal threats that cannot be handled by the normal security apparatus in the Gambia. I have had people using security matters as a political tool. People say, no, we don't need foreign troops here, we don't need, but I think foreign troops are important, and it's given the background and the circumstances we come from.
No,
it cannot be seen to be an affront in our sovereignty comprehensively. Some people might argue that to see them here means that we cannot take up our own.
Oh, it's an occupying force.
But what brought us to this in the first place? That's what we should take. And then we are talking about security reforms. And security reforms, we certainly know that will involve laying off quite a number of officers that we didn't need, as the president himself put it. And then, of course,
But to do that, you need a lot of resources.
That's the president said we need funding. I mean, these millions that come from the UN, 20 million, is meant not just for the TRRC, as we have had the clarification. It's meant for peace building, including security reform, the Constitutional Review Committee, and some of this money will go into that security reform. Now, if you are reforming security, that has been a problem. You tend to think that, okay, could there be possible issues could come out of that? And then if you don't have an international force, I mean, you have a problem in trying to trust whether your armed forces or something are all, embracing these changes. Are they welcoming them? So I'm not surprised that Barrow is asking for economic to stay for 2021, and that will be the end of.
Nima, you come
Yeah.
in. You have a disagreement.
I disagree with you because the presence of any external forces suggests that the situation is not normal on the ground.
But is it normal right now? Are we completely normal?
That's the question.
That's it.
That's the question.
So what's your
That's
answer?
the question Barrow has to answer to us.
Yeah.
Because as a layman looking from the outside, I want to believe that our security personnel are very much equipped to take over
There's no doubt about
the
it.
security of the country.
Yeah.
So if you want to extend the mandate to 2021, then you are
Yes.
telling us that something else is happening that we are not aware of.
No.
And that is something that needs to be clear to us.
Yeah,
Right.
but we know
Because at the end of the day, at some point, our national army needs to take over.
yeah, but the security
But
matters are matters
when
that you don't
people
cover.
also say national army needs to take over, it's as if the national army is not taking over
It's
or
not-
it's not on the security.
No, they are already on.
They are
What-
doing
They
joint
are
operation with the
I
Gambian
don't-
Their
security.
operations have
They are
been
not on
completed.
holiday.
I don't think ECOMIC involves themselves in national security matters. Only when it is getting out of hand, perhaps. Not so.
But what is
Except
that? What is that situation?
Now,
Out of hand
for example,
situation?
the Faraba thing, we have not had of economic there.
It's the Gambia.
It's the Gambia police.
Even
the
as
Faraba-
State House, you have the Gambia.
We're talking about the
No,
army,
so I'm
and
talking-
the
I'm-
army and the police serve different purposes.
No, but
the role of the army is for external protection.
But the
The
serious.
Faraba case has nothing to do with the army.
No, I mean, but listen, that is police and army, that's security, internal security we are talking about,
Yes.
whether the police or the army.
Yes.
I'm saying there have not been any economic there involvement because that is an internal matter.
There shouldn't be, because there shouldn't
that's
be
an
any
internal
army
matter.
But
involved.
army,
now-
sometimes even when the police is overwhelmed, the army step
The
in
army,
to take
that's
care
when
of-
the army, but I'm telling you,
Even
the serious,
Busumbala, army was
the
there.
serious has said, the
That
serious,
still doesn't mean that is their primary function.
The
Their
serious-
primary
it's not.
function.
no, the serious have, just before he embarks on his tour, military and security installations, he said that the overall objective, of course, is that the Gambia Armed Forces will, wherever ECOMIC is performing, will eventually take over that. But it is going to be gradual because, security is a matter that is not totally discussed in public. You know what I mean? So when the president said they perhaps need the extension of the mandate to 2021, he probably said, okay, with matters we are.
I will have to cut you there.
What I don't want
We
is people to
focused on other
politicize
issues.
security matters. It's not something that we should use. We should politicize.
Yeah. So-
and
so-
people make this mistake. Even politicians make this mistake. They want to make popularity out of security issues. They are different.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to come in there to say that because I need to
Go
just
ahead.
state some few things, including that the CDS has even stated that they've not taken over security at State House. I mean,
He
made
said that
certification.
they have not.
But they have taken their forces there.
To train them. They have
Yes.
each unit, the police, the army have sent people to training.
Those are the
Eventually-
people who've come back and go to State House.
They are the people who will be responsible for state guards, and they are soldiers and police. They drawn from different units.
So some of the few
So
things
eventually, ECOMIC will go, and then the Gambians will take part. So it's gradual.
So other few things that
don't agree with
I
you, but
don't
I'll
know
let
whether we will have time to look into this, but other things that have happened during the week was also the appointment of Dr. Cisse. I mean the gentleman who was with the UN as the chairperson of the TRC, but also the Turkeys were also here. A number of 4 police officers from Turkey's Police Academy have come here to help the OIC in ensuring that security aspect of the summit is taken care of, so that they would work with the Gambian police to provide with them some equipment and necessary upgrade that they need, because Turkey has an experience even in hosting G20
And
and other
other-
international.
I think
they were here during the week.
The TRRC thing, what I didn't see in the release is what happened to the Morike Bajane who was first married.
Yes,
He
that's what
didn't
that-
say whether
the
he
press release
declined
did not
or he
actually explain.
He didn't explain what happened to him. Did he honorably decline the offer or whatever? I think the press release should have said.
Yeah, that may have been the case.
I didn't see that in the press release.
So we know that the teacher strike also has ended. I'm surprised no one's.
There are still people who
Yeah.
believe that it has not completely
And that?
ended. That there are some teachers who have not perhaps resumed.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure,
those
I
are
can't
not
confirm
super
that.
vocal. So and then.
But generally-
our time is up for this segment, and you move on.
Thank you very much. It was quite an interesting topic from the Fatou website, and but then time is not on our side. So we'll quickly introduce the entrepreneur of the week, and then you know how we do it often. On this segment, we always introduce a young Gambian who has set up a business in order to create employment, and not only that, also help in the increment of the GDP of the country. On our today's episode, we have Abubakar Singate, who is the proprietor of Youth Empire, which is located at Hyderabad Plaza, which is located at Serakunda. And he is engaged in IT. Of course, you know, we live in a global village and technology has taken over. It's thumb in the world. So let's have a look of Abubakar Singate.
Abubakar Singatality, and right now be ngata school in UTJ la. Be Islamic Studies la study kang major and computer science as minor. Jang ka unlocking kelen ka flashing ke ka computer repair. Computer me along ko fana soronda comme be soronde yenati password be balan ko fana bonni la. Ga operating system of fana change comme computer me along ko laptop ka bonni Windows 7 ka samba 8 wala 10 ko fana change. Ka wa firo fana ngen ka parol wa screen ning charger gol fana wa fele mel along ko be bonni. Sometimes fana ndol fana nata mel along ko la laptop bol tinyata le e bakede dano comme ngalon ka fokon ta repair no la nga jube ana be do la lan kan after ngala tinyaro ngo nyenta nga be ma do diala wala mobile ko fana ngal. Mobile business on yung commencé da yung sango commencé la ni na friend do la na tele ben business on na bay ko la do man after mbe after no kabula because temo man mol febo anu fana ka challenges face due to rent feeling fongo bagasol man ter mol so watu don kanale ngasi fonga me baga customer so after wala na ni laptop no ka quick after nara ko don to taso don ko to mabul so nara bitiko ni expand man so wa tar na go ni ko quick ta man ni business ko man technology wa kabrin wa bi nga ametale ngol like na ya metale nga technology like so nga computer classes kele school so why woman so sometimes ngata YouTube fana ngam mo research ji nga ko ya ko men so de wala bagasul jama man termbul comme ga nyame comme ni spare parole screen all ni software ni charging system lo man termbul so ni customer na jama fonse finti la ngata bitiga dol to ngata fonko kamal ngata bagasul sanja kan ni na ngi fix so dum man time baka time save financial wala obe financial la side la because ninga financial ninga kodo soto nje charging system all order nole ani screen all ni software ni check dol mel ya lon ko mel ni bilela ni na brodal le ka ngala sometimes yeah why sign thing do ma do ni wata ople do ni wo singola academy so abe so ko na biya man na funding kel jama ni funding kel la sanjelo nyato mba expect kan ay wara bag mba expect kan ni sanjelo nyato ay wara bag fon ci mol soto no me yalo ngam be trainer dindi ngol ani bisu so ñe wara
Welcome back after that insight from Abubakar Singate, who is a proprietor of an IT business. So, welcome to another segment. I always love to say this is my favorite segment, and Georgian the way in the cancer season, awareness season. Of course, I know most of you are guessing who we have today in the house, but guess no more. I'll tell you who we have. We have Yaws Creations. She's just not the founder of the foundation, but she's also a designer, a creative designer. So she lost her sister to cancer, and since then she has been leading, one of the leading voices in the Gambia that have been creating awareness and campaign in educating people, sensitizing people on the effects of cancer. So I have the honor, the privilege to welcome Miss Yaws Creations. Welcome to the brunch.
much, and thank you for welcoming me to Kerr Fatou and the brunch.
You're highly welcome. So, this have quite caught my attention, knowing that you're a creative designer, knowing that you're a creative designer and you've been in this industry for a long time. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And we're also made to understand it's through cancer that you lost Sani,
That's
your
right.
brother
My
or
sister.
your sister. Right. I'm so sorry about that. So, what do you have to tell the people out there that are not aware of the effects of cancer and others that are facing such challenges, be it in their homes, family, friends, etc.?
Right. I think before I have something to say to people, I think this is a very serious situation in the Gambia in terms of cancer. Because to start with, people don't like to talk about cancer. It's taboo and it's got a lot of misconception around it. And so this is where our foundation comes in. What we're doing is we're raising awareness in cancer. We're talking about cancer. We're telling people how to take preventive measures in terms of cancer, how to be able to do self-examination in terms of women, being able to detect the lump at a very early stage, where they can now go to the hospital and get it tested and be able to either have the operation or go somewhere else where it could be treated. Because as you know, in the Gambia, there's no treatment in terms of cancer. And this is why I said it's a very serious situation when it comes to cancer in the Gambia. To people out there, I think it's simple. It's mainly to live a healthy lifestyle, meaning eating healthy. Out here in the Gambia, we love our oil and meat and sugars and salt. And if we cut that down, I think there would be a lot of difference to start with. But there's a lot to be done in terms of cancer in the Gambia.
Now, let me go back. How did Yaws design start?
Yaws Creations started about 11 years ago.
How did you get into that? Among all the possible areas you could have gone into, you choose to be an artist or designer. How did the inspiration come to you?
I think I would start by saying, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I think it's a God-gifted talent to me. So I have always been creative since I was a young girl. And then I pursued my education in fashion decoration. And this is how Yaws Creations started. After coming back home in 2007, I decided to start small, and I was supported by my parents and family. And this is how it started.
And since then, since arts actually is not something that a lot of people in the Gambia before fancy to get into, how would you say you've created or inspired young people or young girls like you to get into fashion design?
Right. So in 2007, I came back home. 2008, I started doing my designs and then taking it back to my tailor that I used to work with before when I was going to school. So with that, people started liking what I was wearing. So I'm more of a designer, not a seamstress or tailor. And then that motivated me to start making it to sell. So I started with my friends and family, and I was doing door-to-door sales. And then before I realized that we had this small unit at the house where we normally put rubbish or garbage. And then I thought, okay, maybe I should talk to my parents and see if they'll allow me, which they did, and that's where Yaws Creation started. So I worked from home for 5 years before I had my Yaws Fashion House, which is now 6 years old. So it was a big challenge when I just started, because trying to join the Fashion Designers Association was tough. I don't know why, but I think it's a good reason now looking at it, because I believe God created things in mysterious ways. So the reason why I said that is because after I tried to join the association and they wouldn't let me, I then started creating a young fashion designers group, which was something that today, if you look back, it's wonderful. That's why I thought there's no more there's no need for me to be angry about not being able to join the Fashion Designers Association, because maybe this is what God wanted for me to do, to be able to be a pioneer in the young fashion designers creative industry. And so we started by doing a fashion show, which was massive and made a lot of noise in 2009 with a group of six of us all together, so other designers or other fashion lovers then, because I had to persuade them to be on it, so we could give it a young flavor. And so it went on, and until today we have this thing called the Fashion Weekend Gambia, which is going to be the 7th year anniversary this December. And yeah, so this is the influence.
I'm going to actually take you back.
Rotational, and I'm going to start
Okay,
with
all right.
So I am sorry there's going to be a back and forth through our discussion today. Yeah, I'm taking us back to cancer, and that's why I said it's going to be a back and forth. So I am going to say that a majority of us do not have much idea about what cancer is or even how to take precautions. So I just want to confess that I have tested myself twice. I went to the Banjul Breast Clinic, and when I went there, it was alarming to see so many women who actually have cancer. I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't there myself.
True.
It made me think about our understanding level of what cancer really means, because I don't think there is an alternative name for it in our local languages. So it's hard to explain to somebody what cancer is. And if that is the case, then it's hard to educate someone if you don't have the right terms to use. So I don't know how you guys are going about with your educating on cancer when you cannot find the right terms in our local languages.
So with my artistic background, the foundation is inspired by my lost sister. And so last year when I was doing my 10th year anniversary, there was something I felt wasn't right. And until 3 weeks before the event, I realized it was my sister that was missing, because Saini was very dear to me. She was my confidant, and she was someone that used to help to boost Yaws Creations in so many different ways without wanting anyone to know. So I felt she was the one that was missing. And then what my mind told me then was to be able to raise funds from the event I was doing and give to cancer. And so this is how the foundation started. When I then went to see the doctors to tell them what my intention was, they said there was nothing in terms of cancer. And I was shocked. And they said, well, this is what we were looking for, someone who will be touched by it and be able to support in some ways. So they then gave the idea of the foundation. That wasn't what I wanted from the beginning. And so when they just told me, I was like, ooh, this is going to be tough for me, because I do what I do, and this is the intention of just giving funds towards it. And, back and forth with them. I went back home, talked to my parents and family about it, and they said, well, it's up to you to see if you really want to take it on. So I knew it was going to be a great challenge, because I have no idea in medical. And then I went back to the doctors and told them about what my thoughts were, and they said they will be supportive wherever I need them. So in other words, I'll be partnering with them a lot. So I then took up the challenge, and then we registered the foundation, and the foundation has been running from last year to now. And so in terms of the educational background, what we're ready to do is to have the doctors give us the knowledge apart from my own research, because I've been doing a research, and like you said in the beginning, going to the breast cancer unit really touched me, because it was in a very heartbreaking situation if you look at the place. So that was one. I then also came across few women and a young girl of 17 that gave a very sad story. And also, so with that being seen, I was more motivated to now take up this challenge, to be able to make a little difference with what we can. And so how I did the educational part last year was partnering with the doctors, especially Dr. Ramanjai, who works with WHO, at MRC. She was very influential. You know, she was giving me as much as I wanted in terms of knowledge and what is there in terms of cancer in the health sector. And so I was only using what I knew, which was what my sister went through and died of. So a lot of women wouldn't want to open up, but as soon as I started from there, that it's I am affected from it, so they were then more calm and wanted to listen to me. So because I am more of a health freak, and so this is what I was using then, and also the little research I'm getting from the doctors to educate them, to tell them how to take preventive measures. And so this is what we're going to be doing as much as possible in order to teach the right ways of doing preventive measures, you know, always partnering with the doctors. And if you look at this event we're doing this month in terms of the cancer campaign, we're partnering with an organization called Your Change for a Change. This is a young group of medical personnel, more of, and they've been in place, or they've been doing health awareness for the past 7 years now. So they're more versed when it comes to cancer awareness because they have the doctors, they have the nurses within their midst.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that part, and I want to commend you on that. My concern is where I think you would find challenges is there could be medical knowledge out there that you can acquire on your own and then the doctors can give you. But like I said, when you speak to some people, for example, the uneducated one, they will tell you in Mandinka, for example, so saying that does not necessarily show the severity of what cancer is. And so I am thinking that if somebody doesn't understand how severe something is, it's going to be hard for them to be.
But you gotta remember that the person that's going through the pain knows how serious it is than the person who's not going through the pain.
That's right.
So, like I said about the health factor, in terms of preventions and in terms of education, in terms of treatments that we have here on the grounds right now. I think that's one of the main reasons why people are not really aware, because we don't have a treatment in the Gambia. So anyone that's suffering from cancer can now go to the hospital and want to get treatment, but they won't, unfortunately.
So I'm
And
just
the
going to
closest
say
place would be
finally,
to go, yes, to other countries. And it could be very expensive if you're coming from an unfortunate or less privileged background, because you won't be able to afford that treatment.
Very true.
So that means your focus then should be more of preventive education.
Yes.
Preventing. And then
And
you talk
yes.
about things that women always fall prey for, right? It's important, the message should be that what we eat is what harms us.
Yes, our health is our wealth.
Yes.
Yes.
So now, I think your focus in prevention is to enlighten the people to drop or completely cut on certain diets that causes cancer.
That's right.
And I have had this. I've had this kind of issues before. The challenge for doctors. I mean, it's just like how HIV/AIDS came about. It was a taboo subject until we have prominent voices that come out to speak and say, "Hey, I am infected."
Yes.
So people get.
Yes.
But in your case now, since like she said, cancer is not talked about and it's not even known. There are no local parlance. HIV, as I remember, there was a problem. People don't know what this means in Mandinka and Wolof, but they said, well, it's a certificate of death. When you get it, you die. Then people get it, cannot talk about. But now, in terms of diet, that's a problem. I had a surgeon who said, when we are talking about attire, he said, attire causes stomach problems. If it were if I have the power, I would stop importing attire. In your case now, will you take that mile to attack the authorities to stop importing this kind of foods that probably leads into this? Like somebody once said something weird. He said there should be a war against these fast food stuffs because they are contributing to heart and cancer problems.
What kind of food?
What kind of food?
I think I will agree to what you're saying about attacking the authorities. We need to be very careful with what we let come into our country, because it all boils down to the health measures. Yeah, so we have all sorts of corned beefs, all sorts of sausages, all sorts of processed food, you name it, so many of them that are not really good in terms of health. And why, maybe I will leave that to the doctors to say, but from my research, I have come to realize that they use nowadays, especially nowadays, people are using all sorts of meat and call it the chicken sausage or, for example, beef sausage. And it's not really that. It's more than that. And this is where all the sicknesses come from. And so going to the attire guy, so maybe what he should do is not to stop drinking attire, but to reduce the level of sugar that's going into the attire. Or
Yeah, but if you don't have the attire in the first place, not think about putting sugar.
well, there you go.
So,
That's
but
right.
in terms of information, because in your fight, it seems information is very crucial. It seems the biggest weapon you have is information to make it available to people who can be affected. So, what sort of medium do you have to communicate this information to these people?
So we started our campaign yesterday with the press conference, and we had a lot of media houses present. And we, at this moment, we're thinking this could be a very useful platform to send out our message. We're also going to be having a cancer cocktail reception where we'll also do the same thing. We will have a cancer walk in Kafuta, because remember, our mission is to make sure the whole of the Gambia, so we're not only concentrating on this side, but also in the provinces. And going back to your question about local languages, yes, we're ready for this. So we have a big group of team where we, obviously English is only official language, but we are going to be speaking Wolof and Mandinka, Jola, Fula, wherever we go, depending on what kind of tribal concentration is. So yes, already yesterday, I think during the interviews with the press, we also spoke local languages. So we're going to be using this kind of mediums, you know. So the work would be done in a form of a match. We've already been there, talked to the elders and the community organizations to help us in organizing this. So far it's going really well. The women are ready to be part of this. And we would gather on the community center where we're now going to talk to them. So this is not only going to be scarf, but also your change for a change, because like I said, they're more versed in this and they've been doing it and they speak all the local languages too. So this is the kind of medium we're going to use in terms of awareness, educational.
So you have this platform, and this is the Cancer Awareness Month,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
If you have anything to say as part of your campaign, what would it be to the people?
So at the moment, our priority is to raise funds and not give, but to refurbish the breast care unit in the EFSTH in Banjul. That's going to be our first project we would do, because going there last year and seeing the situation, I think it could be so much better. So when people from this disease, or when people think they have it and they go into there, they can be hopeful. And so we would like people to help in raising funds with that. We don't mind, it could be as small as $5. We will take it, put it together, and be able to refurbish the cancer care unit.
How would you do it? Where would you be when the time comes? Would you put out the information to people so that they know?
Already we're putting out the information. We have a scarf account with Trust Bank, and so it could be deposited there. We're also looking at, but not yet confirmed, other forms of getting the money to us. So this could be done.
Account at Trust Bank?
Yes.
And it's operational right now?
Yes.
Suppose I want to put money there, what do? I just walk into Trust Bank and say?
You want to help a SCAF, which is the Sanis Cancer Awareness Foundation, but we will obviously give you the account details so you will know exactly where to put it.
Is there an information or website or any other place where this information is, that anybody who wants to deposit some money can go to get the right information, go there and put the money?
So we have a Facebook account at the moment. The website is under construction, and there's going to be more social media platforms too.
What is the name of the Facebook account?
It's Sanis Cancer Awareness Foundation.
Sanis
Cancer Awareness Foundation.
Can you quickly
in short,
give
SCARF.
the account number? Can you, if you
But
have it
if they
handy?
go
If
to
you have it
Senis-
handy.
Senis
Scarf.
Yes,
Cancer.
SCARF. Yes,
Yeah.
Awareness
Senis
Foundation.
Cancer
Awareness Foundation, that's right.
On Facebook,
Yes.
they should be able to have required knowledge
That's right.
to know what to do
Yes.
from there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. It was quite an insightful one. And we have Yaws, who is just not
Fashion
a fashion designer, but then she's still very focused on sensitizing the public on the effects of cancer, because she said, he who feels it
Knows it.
knows it. So your final words, madam.
My final words is just to say a very big thank you to especially Kerr Fatou for being our media partners, to everyone that is supporting this initiative to make it a reality, to all our sponsors, to my family, you know, for giving me the chance or for being part of this to make it a reality by saving people's life, and to everybody out there that's helping in one way or the other.
Thank you. And my colleagues, your final words, because we're quite over time.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with her initiative and her drive to go even into arts. That I think have inspired a lot of people.
Right.
And I would advise to stay more on the awareness campaign for more, because it's more important to us.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to say that I am sorry, first of all, for your loss, and I am very proud of the fact that you turned your tragedy into this very important cause that is going to help majority of Gambians. I have not lost anyone to cancer. I have not known anyone who has cancer, but as women, sometimes we go into scare about certain things that are a possibility for us as women. And I hope that this cause gets supported. I'm sure I'm going to be in support all the way through. So thank you for being here with us.
Mustafa?
Thank you.
It's been a very inspiring moment to hear someone share stories of loss like that. And that story emboldened you. Instead of being in a state of despair, you want to fight for the love of it, to save other people who could actually fall for the same situation. I think it's an inspiring story.
To our viewers out there, please join and support them in this quest to sensitizing people on the effects of cancer, and do support the Saini Foundation, easily called SCARF. Follow them on Facebook on Saini's
Cancer Awareness Foundation.
Very much, guys. It has been a wonderful session being amongst all of you. I know you've been sitting relaxed watching us. Please join us next week on the same time. Thank you. Only on Kerr Fatou. Thank you.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan, or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.